Disclaimer, this video may contain blood, violence, strong language, profanity, crude humor, and mature themes and scenes. This video is designed for mature audiences and may not be suitable for children. Viewer discretion is advised. But the majority of you are still gonna watch, aren't you? Thanks. Patema Inverted takes place in a city called Iga, where the last of mankind remains due to Mother Nature destroying the rest of the Earth, or something like that. Now there are two types of people living in this world. The citizens of Iga, whose center of gravity is right side up, and the inverts who remain underground in order to avoid falling into the sky due to their inverse gravity. However, Iga is ruled by a tyrannical leader who's in need of a lot of lube to loosen that tight asshole of his. He believes that inverts are the scum of the world and seeks to kill them by sending them into the sky. And one day, our protagonist Age meets an invert named Patema, and now Age must hide her while seeking to find the true world. Despite a large majority of scores on anime reviews revolving around plot, characters, etc., those scores can mainly be boiled down to one gigantic factor: time. Time can determine how much character development there is, how well the world building is done, and the effectiveness of the pacing. A film that can do all of these aspects well is one that deserves praise, especially with the time that most are allotted. That being said, I can say with the utmost certainty that Patema Inverted is a fantastic film. Yes, there are some cliches, yes, there are some characters that are in need of some extra large tampons, but Patema Inverted keeps you thinking. If you go in just for the enjoyment, you're gonna be left utterly confused as to what the fuck is going on. Since this involves the physics of two different worlds, you always have to pay attention. From the 15-minute mark and on, it's very well paced and tries to not only solve the external conflict right side up versus upside down, but many internal conflicts as well. The male lead's depression regarding his father's death and the female lead's desire to find her childhood friend and the true world. Patema Inverted has many things it wants to get done. The one thing story-wise I wish it could have done better though, is explain itself. If you watch without any prior knowledge, there's a decent chance you'll understand the world setting. However, if you're bad at visualizing, then you're probably not going to be able to interpret the geography of this world, which is one of the few examples of what I mean when I said it doesn't explain itself well. There are many themes that are addressed in Patema Inverted, but I feel the most important one is outward appearances. Why are the inverted discriminated against? Because their center of gravity is only 180 degrees different from ours? Patema Inverted teaches us that we all have issues. It may be impossible to solve it by yourself, but if you have one person to help you stand your own ground, you're invincible. There are many things that can feel both sympathetic and empathetic towards when dealing with characters. Life experiences, social issues, motivations, and ideals, but in Age's case, it's an unfulfilling lifestyle. In his first appearance, Age is shown to be a person who doesn't give a shit about the place he lives in. He doesn't have anything to care for. In fact, before Patema comes along, he isn't shown to have any friends. He's just a guy who wants to look up at the sky, which is actually forbidden in this frickin' city. He has motivation, but doesn't have anything to put it towards. So when Patema comes along and needs help, she's all he can think about. The journey she makes for him creates the fulfilling lifestyle he was looking for. This case being, helping the introverts. But this isn't a one-way street. Princess Patema is introduced as an anxious and motivated girl who wants to see the true world that her childhood friend spoke about. In the end, she ends up in Iga, and from there on out, she notices that she's terrified. She doesn't want to be in a world that's upside down where she needs someone else to hold on to her in order to survive. Throughout this film, day in and day out, Patema's terrified. The fear of falling into the sky, the fear of being captured by the tyrannical government, the fear that someone will get hurt because of her. She wants to live somewhere that doesn't involve sitting in a corner and worrying every second. And this movie shows that one relationship can make all the difference. Patema and Age complement each other, not just because they cancel out each other's weight, but they also fill each other's desires. Patema gives Age something to be motivated for, whilst Age's presence prevents Patema's fear. That's why I love this pair regardless of the few cliches that can be found. However, the characters are hindered by Mr. Lubeman, or the main villain. A dominatrix, an irritating voice, and a face that just says, insert penis here. He's not here to have an epiphany, he's not here to go through development, he's just here to be a representation of Iga. But the shittiest part about this dude's personality is that he has that, oh, I'm the bad guy type of personality. Like, he does everything you don't want him to just to piss you off, which was definitely not needed. A less aggravating personality would have made the characters better for me, but in all honesty, this is just between Age and Patema anyway. Art style and animation are two completely different things. Art style deals with character designs, color palettes, and world creations. Animation, however, is how it's put together. The way a company uses transitions and effects is a gigantic part of how a scene is perceived. The art style of Patema Inverted is good. There's a realistic choice of color palettes, biosuits are very well created, and personally, I love Patema's hair. But the animation is so much better. One thing I loved is that throughout the majority of the film, we remain at Age's point of view. Regardless of everyone and everything else in the room, Age will remain right side up. The star factor with the animation for this movie definitely is the camera angles. At times, the audience gets placed in the shoes of the introverts and it feels like you're one of them. Not only that, but the animators took advantage of the scenes that involved characters flying and made it look fucking gorgeous. The transitions were all done well using terrific color schemes, detailed backgrounds, and panning shots with focus blurs to enhance the effectiveness of conversations. Not to mention, a subtle yet effective face is always the best one. But in this movie particularly, I loved the still frames. Generally, still frames are bland, unentertaining, and usually caused by lack of time or budget. But the majority of still frames in this film were fantastic. Everyone in Aiga lives a controlled, bland life, so the still frames helped capture the citizens' non-existent emotions. This is an example of how to use still frames in a positive and symbolic manner. There are a lot of moments in anime where music makes a scene more impactful. Following that statement, I would like to say that the music for Patema Inverted is not only memorable, but emotional. It even shows this off in one scene where the best song in the entire film is played alongside a few pictures. The majority of the music is soft and serene, yet can delve into a mild, dark tone, which is what the anime was going for. It's very hard to pick a select few, but the tracks I highly recommend are Two People That Cannot Be Saved, Moment of First Love, and Patema Inverse by Estelle Michel. I was just breathless listening to the songs composed by the orchestral mastermind who gave us the original FMA soundtrack, Michiru Oshima. And Yukio Fuji did a terrific job as Patema. You may know her from... this is her biggest work? But it looks like we're going to be seeing more of her in Log Horizon Season 2 apparently. And Amagi Brilliant Park, whatever that is. In summary, this is an incredible OST. After all of my analyses, I've given the categories of story a 7, characters an 8.5, animation a 9, and music a 9.5 for an overall score of 8.5 out of 10. However, if you're wondering what it would be with my personal enjoyment, the score would jump to a 9 with my overall enjoyment being a 10. What's different about Patema Inverted is that it didn't have as big of an impact on me until I sat back and let it sink in. If you take a minute to really think about it, there are a lot of things you can see that maybe you didn't while watching it. Patema Inverted is currently licensed by G Kids and Cine DIGM for North America, and it was showing in theaters around the end of August in the USA, so hopefully some of you were lucky enough to catch that like I was. Patema Inverted is also licensed in the UK by Anime Limited, and last but not least, Patema Inverted was licensed by Hanabi back in May, so you beautiful Aussies can go crazy as well. Anyways, that takes care of this review. Shout out to RCAnime, Vadarth Reviews, and Mr. AJ Cosplay for meeting up with me in real life and watching this in theaters. But I recommend watching this if you enjoy a simple story, love incredible animation and OSTs, and take interest in an anime that makes logical sense. Unlike a few that I'm not too fond of.